In 1963, Lou Ward, founder of Ward Petroleum, drilled his first well here in the Enid, Oklahoma area. Hi, I'm Steve Keim and welcome to City Connections. Our interview is with an individual that has made an impact on the globe, in Oklahoma, and especially right here in Enid, Oklahoma. We'll have that interview right after this. Thanks for joining us today.
Enid, Oklahoma, from wheat fields to the economic hub of northwest Oklahoma. The social, medical, and educational center for the region. Enid is a safe and economic place to live, work, and raise a family. A city with an entrepreneurial spirit. Enid is a community overflowing with boundless opportunities, building an original heritage and pulsating with a vibrant quality of life. Now join Steve Keim as he brings another exciting edition of City Connections.
Lou Ward, founder of Ward Petroleum Corporation. Mr. Ward drilled his first well in the Sooner Trend area near Enid, Oklahoma. Ward is a privately owned, independent oil and gas exploration and production company, headquartered right here in Enid, Oklahoma. The company has drilled more than 900 wells, some as deep as 22,000 feet. Among its industry honors, Ward Petroleum has been included in Inc. magazine listing of the top 500 fastest growing privately owned American companies. Ward Petroleum was also named a blue chip enterprise by Nation's Business magazine. It's my pleasure right now to welcome you to City Connection, and my special guest is the chairman of the board of Ward Petroleum, Lou Ward. Lou, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us. In 1963, this all started. Here we are in 2014. Lou, how did all this happen?
Well, I think it's interesting that you noted about the awards from Blue Chip Enterprise and Pulse magazine, or rather the Inc. 500 magazine, and that those things came about as a result of some of the hard times that we had between the time we started our business in 1963 and through the first, or rather the second, oil embargo of 1979. And a lot of the things that happened as a result of the oil embargo of 1979 made the whole country thinking about becoming energy independent. It was during that period of time that President Jimmy Carter, in an address to the nation, challenged the nation to become energy independent and challenged all of the industries within the country to work towards that end. And he said that the banks also had to do their job in making sure that energy independence came about. And with that, the independent sector of the oil and gas industry right here in Oklahoma gained a lot of momentum and created an awful lot of new opportunities, and we were the beneficiary of some of those opportunities. And our business had started very slowly back in the early 60s and grew rather slowly because of opportunities were slow and becoming more obvious from time to time. And through the growth of the oil boom, the Hennessy field, we were the beneficiaries of that, and were able to expand our ability to find oil and gas.
I remember my mother, when I was much younger, she would say, Steve, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So undoubtedly it hasn't been easy. There's been the ups and downs of the economic climate in the world. How much was the flexibility or just the hard work, how much did that play in your success from 1963 to today?
Well, I think that being able to recognize the opportunities, a lot of them came when you weren't expecting them. We weren't expecting the oil embargo. We weren't expecting the fact that everybody would be out trying to do their part in energy independence. And it was through those opportunities that we were able to create prospects that were very attractive. And as a need to develop those prospects, we were able to buy some drilling rigs. And those drilling rigs caused us to have other opportunities. And I'm thinking that we were well prepared to meet those opportunities, primarily because of a degree in petroleum engineering from the University of Oklahoma.
I want to talk to you about education in just a little bit. I want to encourage our viewers, if you do research on Ward Petroleum, I only mention Inc. magazine, but there's a laundry list, if you will, of many magazines that have shared accolades towards Ward Petroleum. There's another statement, the harder I work, the luckier I get. I've heard people say that over and over. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I know that you, according to your bio that I read, that you were born in Oklahoma City, you served in the Army, petroleum engineering degree from the University of Oklahoma. So I guess the harder you work, the luckier you got. Did all of that, the Army, Oklahoma upbringing, petroleum engineering, education, how did that all figure into your success that you had?
Well, these are all a part of being able to recognize the opportunities as they came, and to not only recognize the opportunities, but also kind of be aware of some of the pitfalls that might be there. We had a great deal of courage moving forward in exploration activities because of our success in different areas, and then be able to use that success to create other opportunities. For instance, in our when we had our drilling rigs, why we had to develop a fleet of trucks to help move those drilling rigs, and also we had to, as some of the success grew, we had to get workover rigs, and we ended up developing a company that would help deliver the gas that we found. And we found that even though we worked harder, a lot of times it wouldn't work. A lot of times it would be more or less considered to be fun and exciting. It took a lot of hours of the day to get all of the things done that you wanted to have done. But in so doing, well, you began to recognize there are a lot of other opportunities, and we need to be able to take advantage of those in a rational and reasonable way.
My special guest today on City Connections is Chairman of the Board of Ward Petroleum, Lou Ward. And Lou, on your website, it says one of the most significant factors contributing to the success of Ward Petroleum has been its people. Can you expand upon that when you say?
There's no doubt that all of the success of Ward Petroleum is due to the individuals within this company and their dedication to getting the job done, their dedication to not only their individual families, but to the city, to their church. And I think that one of the most fortunate parts about our success is the people that we've had that have helped us along the way, helped us to get where we are today. And you look back at the success that some of the individual families have had, or I'd say most of the individual families have had a degree of success in raising their children. And we see many outstanding examples of young professionals coming forward that will help make this a better place to live.
Lou, earlier in my professional career, after a short stint in broadcasting, I worked for a large oil company. And the gentleman that I worked for in that oil company, he said, "Steve, remember this, just surround yourself with the best people and everything will pretty much go your way. And it sounds like, as you're talking about your successes contributed to the people, that you've basically have endorsed that as well. Just surround yourself with the best.
Well, that's there is a rule of thumb that we I look back on it, and I think that there's a lot to it. It said, always hire people that are smarter than you are, and if you do that, well, you're going to be okay.
Okay. Well, I'll pay this gentleman a compliment. Smarter than me today is the chairman of the board of Ward Petroleum, Lou Ward, and we'll have more with Mr. Ward right after this. Welcome back to City Connections. My special guest today is Mr. Lou Ward, chairman of the board, Ward Petroleum. Lou, thanks again for staying with us today. Talking about staying with us, I understand that you have an impact throughout Oklahoma and across the United States. Enid's been home to you as your corporate office, if you will. But I understand that Ward Petroleum is kind of expanding to other states for offices. Can you tell us a little bit about why Enid is home and also your expansion?
Well, we recently opened an office in Oklahoma City, and that followed our expansion into the Rocky Mountains and opening an office in Fort Collins, Colorado. And the office in Oklahoma City will be a purely exploratory and development office, as well as in Fort Collins. Be exploring for opportunities in the Rocky Mountains. And there's a lot of opportunities across the country, but those two offices then will be exploring those potential. And we find that we started out here in Enid, and we're going to be headquartered here in Enid for the foreseeable future. And that we've got a great team of experts in these satellite offices, as well as right here in Enid. So Enid is a great place to be, great opportunities that have developed here and that will be developing in the future.
I know a big part of your professional and personal life has been giving back to the community. I know you have a petroleum engineering degree from the University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner, I graduated from Oklahoma, and not in petroleum engineering, but it was more of a liberal arts degree, if you will. But I knew that education made a significant impact to me. For those that are watching our video, with your background, with the degree from the University of Oklahoma, and I know that you've given back to the community financially and also really to the University of Oklahoma, my question to you is, what role, for that person watching this interview, do you want to encourage them about garnering as much education as possible?
I think that in order to be able to recognize the opportunities that you have, the more knowledge that you have, the more people that you know that have diverse knowledge that are willing to share that information with you is very critical. And learning is a continuing process. Being able to keep up with what's going on just in the newspapers, for example, is almost a full-time job. So you have to learn how to be able to sort out the items that are of great importance with those that are more not so important. And education is a continuing thing that it goes on 24 hours a day. And that exposes these opportunities and gives you the ability to take advantage of the opportunities as they become available.
Along those lines, I remember my mother when I was in high school. She was a tremendous impact on me. But when I was in high school, she said, "Steve, remember this, school is never out." And when she said that, I was kind of depressed because I thought, oh, I'm trying to get out of school. But her point was, which goes along with what you were saying, that school is never out. As long as we're participating in life and breathing, we're always learning. So education is that key.
Absolutely.
So, I know you have various titles, chairman of the board, your dad, your husband, your grandfather, philanthropist, giving back and things of this nature. Where do you think the giving back part of Lou Ward, where did that come from?
Well, I think that when you see these type of, well, I think it comes through leadership that you see among other people and the lead that they take and the types of accomplishments that they have because of the leadership that they have had, that this becomes a challenge to me. Say, well, look what these people have done, what they've been able to accomplish. And a lot of times it just takes one person to come forward, and then a lot of things happen. And so that's always been something that seemed important to me, to come forward and bring other people with you.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and I know the Enid community appreciates your willingness to give back through education and really through the community. Well, we're down to our last question, Lou, and it's kind of an open-ended question, and you can speak to the camera on this if you don't mind, but for the individual that, say it's a young person that's watching this interview, what advice could you give them, knowing from your upbringing, the drilling of your first well in '63 and all that you've accomplished? What can you kind of summarize a word of encouragement that you could share with someone that's viewing this interview? What would that be?
Well, I think probably the most interesting thing when I look back and several decision points that came along the way is never be afraid to take a chance. And when you take a chance, all sorts of things open up to you. And today, it's hard to listen to a multitude of people that would be telling a person that you can't do this because it's too hard, or that most businesses tend to fail, and so you shouldn't try. In today's environment, there are many opportunities to learn how to build a business and to take advantage of these opportunities. And so my advice would be, number one, don't be afraid to take a chance. Clear away from the safe shore and sail ahead and look for new horizons and new opportunities. And I think that one of the things that's said early on was that when you're building a team and seeking to be a success, that one of the most important things are the people that you have around you. And always look around for the people that have a lot of the same goals that you have, and that have maybe not some of the same abilities, but the same drive that you have. And along that line, what I said earlier, always hire people that are smarter than you are.
Lou, thank you for your time today. I certainly appreciate it. It's a privilege to get to know you. And thank you for joining us. We'll have some closing comments right after this. Regional Development Alliance. Lisa, I understand besides the... Thank you for being with us on City Connections. I look forward to...
We're really on an economic roll right now. A lot of things going on, retail.
Thank you for joining us today on City Connections. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Mr. Ward. As you know, on City Connections, we're trying to highlight various individuals that have made a significant impact in our great community. If you have any suggestions for a program, feel free to send me a note at asksteve@enid.org. That's asksteve@enid.org. I'm Steve Kine with the City of Enid. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time. Make it a great day.